Welcome back to the Miles Ahead podcast with Heath.
And Olivia.
Today is Saturday, February 1st,
It
and
is.
we're going to do a quick race recap from the race I ran this morning.
And talk about some of our training and nutrition and a couple questions we got from the viewers. So,
Yeah.
all the fun nitty gritty stuff of how we do the things we do.
Definitely please put comments on questions that you have for us that you'd like us to answer about running or just literally anything, just to add that in at the end of every episode.
Yeah, that'd be cool. But
Yeah, or just topics for a whole podcast or anything you got.
Yeah, literally. So, you ran a race today.
I did. Running is kind of a word for it. I don't know if I would say running, but
You did a race today.
I did a race today. So my buddy Carlo, shout out to Carlo, who's paced me at a couple races. He said it was at the end of last week or maybe last week, and he's like, "Hey, can I stay at your guys' house on Friday? I'm running a race on Saturday called the Vertical Mile, and it's closer to you guys." I said, "Yeah, of course you can." He's like, "You guys should run it too," and I'm like, "Sounds disgusting." It's like 15 to 18 miles, and it's like 6,000 feet of elevation. So you run a mile of elevation, vertically. And I'm like, I hate running vertically, but the next 100 I'm doing has a lot of vert, like 130 to 160 per mile. So I'm like, I should probably do this.
Yeah, fair.
Didn't want to do it. Looked at the weather. I'm like, oh, it's going to be like 36. It'll be a nice day. Like, I'll do it. Signed up for it. So that kind of brings us to this morning.
Yeah.
Wake up at like 6 o'clock. Luckily, it wasn't until 9 a.m. start at it's at Mohican, which is a local state park, but this race is actually it's called Camp New Hop.
Yep.
Which is a local camp for...
I thought it was the Boy Scouts, but I could be wrong.
Okay. I think it's for either that or it may be for...
like, students with special needs?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, I'm just going to look it up. And the race was at Camp New Hop, which is a local camp that serves children and young adults specifically with special needs and stuff, but kind of everybody. So the race is always put on for a great cause, and there's also another race, which was the first trail race I ever did, called the Fuzzy Fandango that they put on every year. And it's always really well marked, and this race was as well. So
yeah, that's good. I mean, I was only out there for a second, but I was like, the flags are everywhere.
They had flags everywhere. The only thing that was confusing is to get 330 feet of vert per mile, you're going up and down the same hill a lot, so there's a bunch of flags kind of everywhere. So if you missed one and went to the right, you're like, oh, there's flags here, I need to follow this. True. So a bunch of switchbacks and stuff, which is to be expected.
Yeah.
So it ended up not being 36 degrees. I think it was like 24 for the start. So I was like, and it rained all day yesterday.
Yeah.
So the trails were a bit icy. As soon as the gun went off, I went the wrong way because I ran the Fuzzy Fandango and it always gives us one day. Didn't even look at the flags. So we were supposed to go straight. I turned left on the road and everyone's like, hey, it's over here. Turned to go the right way, slip, fall on my butt, 0.01 miles into the race. Amazing. And I'm like, okay, that's a great start. We love this.
Literally.
So I'm running with the lead pack. End up falling 2 more times that lap.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, 3 miles in, 3 falls. I'm going to probably, if things keep going like this, fall 18 times today. It's not going to be good. Luckily, I got up quickly after every fall and it didn't hurt anything. So
that's good.
We love to see that, for sure. But with staying with the lead pack, the one guy goes off and I'm running with this other guy named Oren. And he's just trucking up these hills no problem. And I'm like, I might not win this.
Yeah.
So it was a 3-mile loop, and we did 6 loops. Going in, they put on the website it was 5, so I'm like, okay, it's gonna be 15 miles, and I'm like, I want to go around 2:45. Ended up being 6 loops to get the whole thing, and
they announced that 15 minutes for the race started. They're like, oh, just so you know, it's actually 6 loops, not 5.
Yeah, which makes sense because I looked at the results for last year and it was 6 loops.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, okay, maybe they changed the course. They did not. But yeah, I ran with him for the first 3.5 laps, and we were in the lead, and I'm like, okay, well, if he decides to make a move, I don't think I'm going to make a move because my legs are kind of feeling it. And he did. Got a lead on me. I powered through the last 2 laps. Ended up losing, I think, by
5 minutes, I think?
5-6 minutes, maybe 7 minutes. But hats off to him. He's a young dude. He's only 24. He's a local ultra runner. He ran a heck of a race, and I just didn't have me in me,
Yeah,
like I thought like my only hope is to stay with him to the last lap and then
true.
maybe make a move with not much time to go. But he was way better climber than me, and that was one of the reasons I wanted to run the race. I'm not great at up hills, and I'm like, well, if I run this like the 130 or 160 feet at the 100 miler is going to seem like nothing.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, my calves are definitely feeling it. But definitely got 6 weeks before the Visit Beaver County
Rabid
Rabid Raccoon
raccoon.
100, hosted by Wolf Creek Race Management in Beaver Falls,
There
Pennsylvania.
we go.
So yeah, I'm gonna work on some uphills for sure. I think I'm gonna go out and run the course a couple times.
You're
So
gonna see the trail. Like you're gonna go find a trail. Really?
I'm
Find
gonna run on
run
a
a trail.
trail.
Good
This might have been the first
job.
time this year I ran on a trail.
It definitely is.
Definitely is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not good at that in the winter. Not good at it in the summer either. To be honest, I don't think I call myself a trail runner though.
No.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Yeah. But hey, if anyone wants to go run the Visit Beaver County Rabid Raccoon 100 course next week, I'm running with at least one other guy, probably a couple other guys, at 7:30. We're meeting at the little recreational hockey
Place.
place.
Hockey, not
Yeah.
field.
If you're
Hockey
interested,
thingy.
just contact me or contact the podcast on Instagram. I can give you the details. But 7:30, Sunday, the 8th,
Yeah.
February 8th, day of the Super Bowl, 7:30 a.m.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
It will be fun.
I won't be there, but I bet it'll be fun for
12
you
and a half
guys.
mile loop. I'm probably going to do the loop twice, but
Oh,
you can
good.
obviously hop off at any time. So
True. And like it just goes in and out and in and out. You can get back to the road at any point, you know?
yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
so that was fun. So, what did you eat or drink during this race?
Water. I drank a lot of water, actually.
You
I was
did.
sweating a lot. It was cool. I had a windbreaker on. I had a t-shirt on, windbreaker, and then the singlet over the
Windbreaker.
windbreaker. Yeah. But I was sweating on like all the uphills, and when you get to the top of the hill, it was like cold because the wind
Yeah.
was actually there. So it's kind of chilly there. But drank I think 4 or 5 bottles of water, so probably about 100 ounces.
Mm-hmm.
You put a glucose gel in my pack one time, so I
Yeah.
had some of that, and then probably like 100 calories of precision gel. But for shorter races like that, I thought it was
Yeah.
15, so I wasn't planning on eating any calories, but it was 18, so it was good to have something.
It was great because like at the bottom of my bag that I brought extra clothes in, I was like, I've got a glucose and I think I got like 2 precisions. I'll just put one of those in there because I was like thinking about it. I was like, after like 2.5 hours, like you might want something more than water. I was like,
Yeah.
I know I'd be hungry, so
Yeah, what I run like a 3:22.
I think something like that.
Yeah, so like it was like 11 something
It
per
was
mile, but
yeah.
uh in all the trails that we were running on, like some of them weren't actually trails. It was just like, hey, this is like we put
This
flags
is a
here.
path.
Yeah, which wasn't bad. It's good to
Yeah.
actually run on harder things rather than doing that in like a like real big race. Like
Yeah,
I'd
exactly.
rather have problems happen today than during one of
Oh,
the
for
hundreds
sure.
I care about a lot. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, but have you ever ran 100 you didn't care about a lot, a lot?
100? No, I
Exactly.
care about every race, and I
Yeah, yeah,
100% went all out today.
Yeah.
Just didn't have it in me, but I'd rather learn from mistakes. Kind of like I
Exactly.
said, like, hey, this would be my Ohio State losing to Michigan game. Like, hey, it's okay to lose the last game of the regular season if
Yeah.
you're gonna like run the tables in the playoffs. So I'd much rather figure those things out now
Yeah.
rather than a 100 miler or something.
And
So
with how steep those downhills were, I thought it was definitely a good training run for you.
yeah, because those are kind of been two of the things things that hurt me last year. My 100s, my legs were just beat up at the end from
Yeah.
all the downhills. So getting some steep downhills was definitely good.
Yeah. I befriended the race directors a little too well, and they were trying to like give me a bib to like let me go run the race like
Yeah.
45 minutes after it started, and I was like, I gotta give stuff to Heath, but also it'd be kind of cool to run this. And I was like, yeah, like I'll run some of it. And then I was like, you've got road shoes, Olivia. What? I don't know how you think this is gonna work. And the answer is poorly.
Yeah. Shout out to Trevor, the race director.
Yeah,
Good
cool
dude.
guy. I was like, thank you so much. They gave me snacks and coffee and tried to give me a free bib. I was like, well,
Love to see it.
yeah. So, how did you figure out what nutrition worked for you? Like, how much trial and error went into that, and what works best?
I think a good amount of trial and error. Like we talked about in one of the other podcasts when I ran Eagle Up 100 for the first
Yeah.
time, I found a bunch of things that didn't really work for the
Exactly,
100-mile distance that had worked at shorter distances.
Mm.
Which I think that's the thing. Like for shorter distances, you can kind of fake a lot of it, and like
Yeah.
a lot of different things can work if you're not consuming a lot of whatever
It
that is.
is,
Like, hey,
yeah.
gummy worms, yeah, you can eat 500 calories of gummy worms and get
Yeah.
through a 50K. But whenever you're trying to eat 3,000 calories of gummy worms for a 100 miler, might not work as
Yeah.
well. Like, your stomach might not handle that
Literally.
many calories over an 18-hour period or a 24-hour
Yeah,
period.
correct.
Um, I think a lot of it was learning from others, though, seeing what
Okay.
works for others, and not everything works the same for everybody,
Correct.
but just testing different things out. Like, there's a bunch of, uh, like the feed, you can get a bunch of different things and test it off there. But yeah, talk to people, see what works for them, and then try it out during training runs. Don't try it out during a race, I would say.
Literally. Yeah.
But some things that work for me, definitely Tailwind. Love Tailwind. Usually
Yeah.
try to go bottle with that, bottle of water as well, or switch off with those two. I like Honey Stinger waffles, Precision Nutrition, those
Yeah.
gels. Put that into the arsenal last year.
Yeah.
Mountain Dew Kickstarts to get some caffeine in. Just taking a couple sips at the aid stations.
Um,
Sometimes I act like I drink a ton of Mountain Dew Kickstart during races,
and
but
you
I
don't.
don't. It's my pre-race ritual is
It
drinking
is.
one and then
And
eating
what
some Mike and
else?
Eggs
Yep.
normally.
Mike and Ike's.
Yeah, pre-race. I don't eat
Pre-race,
many of
yeah.
them during the race.
Oh,
And
oh,
then
no.
glucose gels.
Glucose, yeah.
Yeah, those are awesome. We saw them at Walmart. You can get them online as well. But I haven't seen or heard many people talk about those. But
No.
like those like sit super well in my stomach. They're
Yeah.
super liquidy and it's a good time. I used to take the Gatorade gels that were super liquidy, and then they stopped making them like 2 years ago.
That's a bummer.
So yeah, I found the glucose and those work exactly the same, and they're super flavorful.
Yeah. Yeah, they taste like Capri Sun, which
Yeah,
is nice.
like a Capri Sun if there was half the amount of water in them and twice as
Yeah.
much flavor.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. But in a good way.
yeah. So how about you? How do you figure out nutrition?
Oh, that's like the never-ending question of what works today.
Yeah.
Like when I first started running, I was taking goos, and that like went really downhill really quickly. They just like run through me, and like I can't do it. I can't be running to the bathroom 20 million times.
I've heard of
And
so many people saying that.
yes,
I think they have good marketing.
yeah,
Well, I don't know about good marketing, but they're in a lot of places.
yeah.
And the first thing you see when you go to a running section of the store, you go to a
It's
running store, is,
goo.
oh, goo gels. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Like this is like it's a big name, but like
There's so many other options, you know?
there are, and yeah, I've never really been a fan. I think I tried them whenever I first started out running. I
Yeah.
just think it's the common thing that everyone tries. And then
Exactly.
some people I think get turned off of gels in general just from
From
goose.
goos, yeah, because it's the consistency.
They have a
is
lot
so
of
thick.
flavors and stuff, which
They
is
do,
nice. It's like,
yeah.
oh, I can find a flavor that
Nice.
sounds good to me and stuff. But yeah, I've heard a lot of people have.
Like I used to have like the birthday cake ones, like the
That was
chocolate
yeah.
ones, and I would like be like, "Oh my gosh, I need to go use a tree right now. This is awful."
Yeah.
And it'd be like a minute after I took the goo, and I was like, "All right, well, what else is there?" So after goos, I did try the Cliff Blocks. I do
Hmm.
like those, but they're just like a lot to chew. They're good, but they're just really thick. So like it depends on what you like to have. But I don't use those a ton. I used to get them and have them like as a just in case thing.
Mhm.
But
Those aren't bad.
no, they're
I
not
like
bad.
those.
And it's nice because you can just like have one and then keep running and then have another one. Like they're not messy or anything.
Hmm.
But they do melt and freeze. So
Interesting.
that's the only issue is I've done some cold races and like gone to eat them and I'm like, oh, ow.
Broke a tooth. New problem unlocked.
So after that I went hardcore like candy. I'll just eat candy during races.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. We're here to have fun. I'm gonna have some paydays. I'm gonna have some Twix. I'm gonna have some Gushers and some fruit snacks and like that works. Like it's just not super sustainable for me.
Wait, do you actually have fun during races?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you not have fun during races?
I don't know if fun's the word. I feel achievement from
That's
doing
fair. That's very true.
it. I enjoy getting to spend time with people and stuff. I just don't know if I'd describe it as fun most of the time.
That's I think fair for sure. It depends on where I am in the race. Like, hey, 0 to like 80, I might be okay.
Yeah.
Having a good time.
It's not that I don't have a good time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I guess that's yeah. And I feel like everyone who doesn't run, whenever they're like, "Oh, you run," they're like, "Oh, "I only run if I'm getting chased by someone." What's chasing you? Why are you running? And
And
it's
you're
like
like, haha.
I'm still trying to figure that out. What
Literally,
I don't know what I'm
exactly.
running from, my former self or something. Like
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm just like, I don't know, but they're back there, and I'll just keep going until I think they're not there no more.
Yeah. So what do you drink during races?
Water.
Water.
Um, I'm trying to think of what I had. I used to like scratch, but I'm like I'm still scratched out. I just like, it's good, and like I like it, but it's just like, so I found out Gatorade works pretty well for me.
Gatorade solid.
Gatorade sits on my stomach really well, especially during like the summer months.
Yeah,
Um, Black coffee is what I drink overnight for ultras.
I like it.
I liked that a lot during Devil Dog. Kept me awake enough, and it was like just a steady stream of caffeine
Mm,
instead of like a shot of one. So,
that's fair.
um, I feel like that's really it. I feel like I don't drink anything else.
She's working on it. When we first met and started running together, I'm like, oh, we were talking about nutrition. She's like, yeah, I usually eat like 1,000 calories over 100 mile and drink like 4 ounces of water. And I said, hey, we need to work on that.
Yeah.
That's not sustainable. This is why like the second half doesn't go very well. And you kind of just said,
Yeah, literally.
I don't want to work on that. And I said, no, you need to. So you've been trying some
Yeah.
things and stuff, and it's a work in progress. But
Yeah, I feel like my first 100, I ate a lot of like real food. Like I didn't have
mm,
a ton of like gels. Like I had like gushers and like fruit snacks, but like I just had like broth and grilled cheese and like breakfast burritos. So like that sustained me, but like energy wise, I was like bonking hard, which is like the tough thing to find something that's sustainable and also filling. So, but now those glucose are honestly really good.
good.
I like those a lot during the summer because I'm like, oh, a little Capri Sun, and like they go down really easily, and like I feel like nothing ever sits well in my stomach, but those do. And like Precision's fine. It's not super. There's not like a flavor to it. It's more just like sugar gelatin, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like the knockoff Morton or the cheaper Morton, I like to say.
I don't know if it's cheaper. I feel like
Oh.
I feel like Morton just doesn't have much of a flavor. I've only ever
Uh,
tried the caffeinated ones when I
oh,
ran the
okay.
Boston Marathon, and it turned my stomach, and it tasted like medicine. If you like go to swallow a like
Okay.
hard pill, and like you
Oh,
don't
interesting.
swallow it, and you just get it in your
Oh
mouth, and it
no.
tastes disgusting. That's what it tasted like.
I've had like the regular Mortons and I like those.
Some people swear by them. And if
Yeah.
Precision, the regular ones might taste like that. I think it's probably
Yeah.
the caffeine that kind of gives it
That's so
the
funny.
off taste, and it's kind of like the first time you try something and it's disgusting and it might have been wrong for some reason, but you
Yeah.
never go back to it again, and that's kind of
Yeah.
where I'm at with Morton.
Fair. So, like, needless to say, I worked a lot on nutrition because I could, like, fake it till you make it through, like, a 50K.
Hmm.
Like, the 50Ks we ran over the summer, I think I had, like, a little water, a little Gatorade, and, like, I don't know, maybe a glucose.
Yeah.
Which, like, not great, but I was like, ah, it's not gonna be that long in the scheme of things. So,
Yeah,
did
I feel
that.
like you don't drink enough.
I definitely don't drink enough now.
Yeah, which I mean, I'm half again as big as you, and I probably sweat way more than you.
Fair.
Um, but
But
still, I
still.
think you don't drink enough. You probably drink like a
Yeah.
fifth as much as I do during a
Yeah.
race.
So, like, I thought I had nailed down nutrition going into Rim to River, and then we found out that really wasn't the case. Everything kind of went really downhill. So I just decided, like, hey, you know what? Whatever sounds good is what we're going to do for Devil Dog. So,
Mhm.
but I still did have glucose. Glucose still went well. I didn't have a ton of Gatorade because it was cold and I just didn't feel like drinking a lot. Which is, like, once again, not the thing to do when you're out there for 28, almost 28 and a half hours.
Yeah, you definitely need less depending on the weather,
Yeah,
but
true.
you still need a
Need
decent
some,
amount.
you
Like
know?
28
Yeah.
hours, like
You're depleted.
yeah,
Because, like, that, I had a lot of broth and, like, chips and, like, pretzels. Like, just, like, little
it's a lot
things.
of
Oh,
sodium, so that's good at least.
pumpkin bread. That's what I had so much
So
of.
much pumpkin bread.
So much. And it was so good. I don't know. It was just, like, the calories I needed.
Yeah,
So, this is my plug towards pumpkin bread. Try it for your long runs.
yeah, and with the pumpkin bread, it like sounds kind of healthy. It's like, oh, it's pumpkin bread.
It's
Pumpkin
not
sounds.
healthy.
Yeah, she puts like a ton of chocolate chips. It's literally half chocolate chips. Tastes amazing.
Yeah.
Shout out to Chef over here. Like, but
But like, yeah, it was just like that little bit of like sugar that I needed to like keep going. So I've like definitely turned away from like the candy and stuff just because I am scared they're just gonna turn my stomach, and that's like my main concern going into races. It's not that I think my legs are gonna blow up; it's that my stomach's gonna blow up.
yeah,
So that we're gonna continue to work on it and kind of go from there.
yeah.
But like so far, it's nice to have a few more things in the arsenal going into this year. Like thankful to have some glucose and some precision to keep me going. But like yeah, it's just those cold races are hard to keep going during. So pivoting from nutrition, what does your training look like? So you're right now you're training for visit Beaver County, Raccoon 100 miler. Blah, 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 blah. So how do you train for 100 miles? You've done it before,
Yeah.
obviously.
Um, you run miles. That's kind of been my main thing is just getting in mileage per week. I think I'm probably averaging 85 to 90 this year.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to do some more elevation training, kind of more specific training over the next 6 weeks before the race. But it was kind of my off season, and I didn't run a ton of miles. I was probably averaging 85 through the winter.
Yeah.
I think I had 400 or 4,500 miles last year.
Exactly, yeah.
Exactly.
On the dot.
So after Burning River, I didn't do any races. I was mainly focusing on that. I've been doing a speed workout once a week on the track.
Yeah.
With the place that
last
Second
couple
Soul
weeks.
puts on.
Yeah.
Yeah, last 3 weeks. So
weeks,
I'm gonna
yeah.
continue to do that, and probably get a couple longer runs in.
Okay.
I've done 100 milers before. I kind of understand how to do 100 milers, so I'm not like that big on I need to do
Like your 50K?
a
Like
50K or a 50 miler right before.
Yeah.
I think those are really good training runs
Yeah.
for it. But I just don't think it's a good time of year to find too many around here.
fair. How long do you think your longest long run will be before Rapid Raccoon?
Maybe 25 miles next week.
Okay.
I don't think I'm going to do more than that.
That's fair.
I feel like some of it's a point of diminishing return because it's going to take you a while to recover from
yeah.
that. If it's going to be your first 100 miler, I'd definitely work up like, hey, do a 50K, do a
Yeah.
50 miler or 100K before it. But at this point, this is what I did last year. Like, I'll probably do more races before Burning River this year just to
Yeah.
work on speed training
Sure.
and things like that since it's going to be a
Big one.
bit more like that. This race is with the elevation is going to be a bit more of a grueling race. So
Yeah.
and I think I thinking back to last year, I think I was probably only averaging 70 miles going into the race last
Yeah.
year. So I think I'm going to be in much better shape because I
Sure.
ended last year in better shape, and I think I've done more this winter than I did last winter. So
Yeah, definitely.
which it's going to be. I mean, I'm hopefully going to run a faster time than last year, but very weather dependent on
Yeah.
that.
How long before like your 100 would you recommend doing your longest run? Like you're not going to do a 100K or a 50 miler like 3 weeks before
Yeah.
a race.
Yeah, I would probably say if you're doing a 50 miler, at least 4 weeks out. If you're doing
At least, yeah.
a 100 miler or my bad, 100K, probably 5 weeks out.
At least, yeah. That would be crazy. I just feel
Yeah.
like the recovery from that would take a while because then you're going to be down. Especially if it's your first one, I feel like you're going to be
If
down.
it's your first one, yeah, probably. I think people also shoot themselves in the foot whenever they're first starting and they do a marathon, their first marathon, or they do their first 50 miler, or they do their first 100K. They take like 2 weeks off of running, and
Yeah.
that just prolongs their recovery.
Correct.
I think you should get out, like maybe not the very next day, but the day after, and at least jog a mile.
Yeah.
Or at least walk around your neighborhood. Like if you take the week off work after and sit in bed the whole week, like you're probably gonna take way, way longer to recover. The active recovery, I think's super, super important.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I feel like if you can get out there the next day, the day after, and see how things are feeling, it's a great way to assess like where you're at, where your body's at. Because like after a while on your feet, you're like, all right, so this hurts, this is what I can do better. Like, all right, I got a blister here. How can I fix that for next time? Like,
Yeah. And like blisters, I don't think your blisters are gonna get worse if you cover them up and run through them for like a recovery run or like a muscular thing. Like,
yeah,
I'm not a doctor. Don't take this as medical advice. Let me just get that out there. But like, if it's muscular and not like a tear and it's not a bone injury, I don't think doing easy recovery miles or walking on it's going to do you any harm.
Define muscular. Like if like your foot hurts or your knee hurts or
Yeah,
something like that. Okay.
like after a bunch of races, I've had my feet like be in serious pain, and like the more I walked on it, the more it'd like loosen up. As long as
Okay.
whenever you're doing your run, it's not getting worse as you do it.
True.
If it starts hurting less or hurting the same, I don't think you're doing any harm. Once again, not medical advice. That means you can't sue me if you hurt yourself.
That's fair. Training for your first 100. What was the longest run you did before Eagle Up? Did you do a 50 in prep for that? I forget.
Well, I did the 100K the year before
Okay.
there, so that was technically my longest run before it. But that year I ran a marathon in, I think it was May, and then like 2 weeks later, or no, I ran, yeah, I think it was like 2 weeks after that, I did a 6 hour race, which I ended up getting
Oh yeah.
43.4 miles or something. I was getting
Okay.
my nutrition down. And then 2 weeks later was Eagle Up, I think,
Yeah.
which I ran those too close
That's
to each other.
yeah.
Yeah, it was dumb. I thought I had 3 weeks, but I think I only ended up having two. And my calves weren't fully recovered because that 6 hour race I did had like a decent bit of elevation, and
Yeah.
my calves started hurting like 20 miles into Eagle Up, which is like a super flat race. So definitely learned from that. But
Yeah. How long would you recommend tapering for a 100 miler?
2 weeks at most.
At most, okay.
Yeah,
I feel like that's a hot take.
I feel like tapering's overrated.
Okay, that's fair. You do.
Like unless you're like if you're doing say 50 miles a week and then you drop down to only doing 20 miles the week before a race, like that's way too aggressive.
You think?
I
Okay.
think it's way too aggressive. Yeah, I think if you're doing 50 miles, maybe do a 40-mile week, then a 30-mile week, and then think about it. Most races are on the weekend, so hey, do a 50-mile week, do a 40-mile week, and then run only 15, 20 miles that
Okay.
week
Okay.
of the race.
Yeah.
So, because
Okay.
that's pretty much a taper week too. The week of the race is a taper week. So,
Yeah,
more
that's
than
fair.
2 weeks out is kind of, yeah.
I can understand that. I feel like I used to go 3 week taper, and now I feel like I do a 2 week taper.
Okay.
I think half of that was because I didn't want to break the 50 mile streak.
Okay, I feel that.
But I'm also like, at this point, 50 miles feels like your baseline, especially after like a strong build to a race. So,
Yeah. The thing is, if you do a lot of races and you do a 3, 4 week taper, and then you have 2 or 3 weeks of recovery, when are you actually training?
that's correct, yeah.
Yeah, and I've kind of realized that. So, especially if I'm just doing a training race, like I definitely don't taper much. Maybe just the week of,
Yeah,
like, cause I
you do, yeah.
don't want to be like super super fresh during that race if it's not a race that's like, hey, my main race for the year.
Okay.
I'd rather. I think you get more out of it if you're not running it 1,000% fresh.
And for reference, Heath's version of a taper is running 6.5 miles every day for like 4 days before the race, maybe 3 days.
Yeah,
So like 10 miles, and then like, oh, by the
six and a half,
time,
6.5.
yeah, Wednesday rolls around, you're like, all right, I'll gotta wind it back to 6.5.
Yeah, and I feel like if I didn't at least do that though, like my body would be like full panic mode because it's like, what are you doing? If I
Correct,
took
yeah.
3 days off before a race, like when I went to run, I feel like my legs would be like,
Yeah, I think like the tapering, one of the weeks of tapering for Cloud Splitter, my first 100, I took 2 days off in a row, and I was just like freaking out. I think I had like asked my crew chief like, hey, like, what would you recommend me tapering? Like, how would you recommend me going about that? And I took 2 days off, and I remember thinking, I don't know how to I don't remember how to run. I don't know how to do this.
Mhm.
And I like went out the next day, and I was like, oh my gosh. Okay, I remembered. My legs worked. So I'm like, I think mentally, if it helps you to like get out there and run like 3 miles,
Mhm.
go for it.
little shakeout run.
Yeah.
Yeah, and here's the thing: maybe a 3 week taper works for you. Maybe a 4 week taper works for you.
Yeah,
And if that
exactly.
works for you, heck yeah, do
Perfect,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. Just like with the nutrition, it's not everything fits everybody.
Yeah, it's not
One
a
size fits all.
exactly. That's like one of the most interesting things about ultra running is people are always like, what do you use for this? What do you use for this? And I'm like, I can tell you. I act as though many people are knocking down my door asking me how I do this, but I'm like, I can tell you, but it's like there's a, I don't know, 70% chance that'll work for you too. It's like you gotta kind of spend some time figuring it out.
Okay, question for you and question for the audience as well.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're talking to someone who doesn't really know about running and do you ever get the feeling that like they either say something that's like totally unrealistic fast wise or totally unrealistic like slow wise if they're like, oh, if I say like, oh, I run like usually I run 8 minute miles or easy pace or 9 minute miles, like I always get like the guy who's like, oh, I ran a 350 in high school, or the person that's like, oh, I couldn't ever do more than a 20-minute mile
Yeah.
pace. I'm like, well, it's literally walking. Like you probably do that just walking around like
Yeah.
the store. Like when someone actually says something that's like,
About running, yeah.
whenever they actually say something that's like realistic, it's like a breath of fresh air. Because I feel like 9 out of 10 people say the most unrealistic thing, either fast or slow wise. Like, which I understand. If like someone said something about, I don't know, cars or
Paces,
something,
yeah.
or like swimming paces, like I would have absolutely no
Exactly,
idea.
yeah.
But
Yeah, no, that's so fair. I like have some friends that like bike on Strava, and I'm
mhm.
like, I don't know if this speed is fast or slow, but like, hey, good job. That was I think you're doing it.
Yeah.
So I've like thought about that before, but like I don't know how this like fits into the whole biking realm. Like if this is like an easy ride or like a workout ride, but I feel like normally when I say, "Oh, I run 100 milers," I'm always get asked at like, "Do you mean like in one go?
Hmm.
Like all at once?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "How?" So I think most people think that it's broken up over a couple days, which should be fair. It is over 2 days, but I
Like
think
they think segments.
yeah, because they're
Mm.
like, well, do you not like, do you stop and like sleep for a while, or like, do you stop and like,
It's also interesting because when you explain that, you're like, well, you can if you want
yeah, exactly.
to.
And they're like, what do you mean? How would you not want to? And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, it like depends on how you're feeling. So I feel like in that case, in most cases when I talk about hundreds, people are like, and and like I'll be like, like the one took me 35 hours. So like, what? I feel like the longer that I say that it takes, like people are more impressed because they're
Mm.
like, I can't imagine. Like, I'm like, just don't do the math on like what pace that is. But like it is what it is.
I try really hard anymore to not bring up my running. Like people
Fair.
bring it up to me, and like I have coworkers. I always like
Yeah.
say stuff to other coworkers and stuff, and it gets brought up a
Yes.
lot. But
Yep.
like I try not to be that person. Like, because
Correct.
there's that meme, like, oh, how do you know someone ran a marathon? It's like,
Because
oh,
they
don't
told you,
worry,
yeah.
I'll tell you. Yep.
Exactly. I really hate that stereotype.
Mm.
Because, like, at this point at work, too, people are like, do you know how far she runs? And I'm like, yeah, I know. They're like, so how many miles did you run this morning? And I was like, I, like, told one guy, I was like, 7. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm like, I'm just gonna start saying, like, 1. I didn't actually run this morning. I don't know where you got that from.
Yeah, I never
Was it
run in
from
the
me?
morning, so
Yeah,
whenever people ask me, I'm like, I haven't run yet. I don't wake up before work. I wake up 45 minutes before work.
And you sprint out the door.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's a very interesting situation. I feel like normally I don't get faster, but I don't know. I haven't really encountered too many people that are like, oh, I ran a 5-10 mile.
It's usually old dudes.
Yeah, that
Shout
makes
out to
sense.
old dudes, but yeah, they're always like, oh, when I was in the army, like I'd run a 5K in 8 minutes. I'm like,
Whoa.
you literally didn't.
Yeah, that's very real. We did get some questions
Yeah, it looks like we have 4 questions
from Instagram.
from Instagram. Yeah. So first question is from my mother.
Yes.
What is your goals this year in regards to trail running? So I think we might have touched on this, but
Yeah.
Liv, we'll let you go first. What's your main goal for this year?
My main goal is to do a sub 24-hour 100 miler.
Love that.
And like it'll be on a trail most likely.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like the races that I have in mind are all trail races, but some are just smoother than others or less elevation gain than others. So
Awesome. Mine's gonna be my A goals set the course record at Burning River. So
yeah.
see how that goes. If Burning River is technically considered a trail race, I don't know.
I don't know.
It
We'll
is.
say
It
yes,
100% is, but like there's some tryhards that'd be like, there's 30 miles of it that aren't on trails, not a trail race.
Shh, you know, it's
I'm
like,
like, that's why I run the race every year. I like non-trail parts. I don't like trails.
Real.
Second question is from Hannah. What is your deepest, darkest secret?
Oh man, this is a tough one. Trying to think. Um, I'm going to go with. There's just so many options, you know.
Yeah,
Like, I think. I don't think Running River is a trail race. Is that kind of a secret?
that's not a secret. That's an opinion.
Darn. Okay, that's all I could think of.
So I can think of.
I was trying to think of a hot take, and I was like, yeah, that works.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's change it to what's your biggest hot take about running?
Um, I feel like people are always like, you need to bring, if you're running this far, or if you're running more than an hour, you need to have nutrition with you, la la la. And I'm like, no, you don't. If your body doesn't need it, you don't need it. Like, if that works for you, once again, great.
Yeah.
I do not need that. Like, we did those 15 miles with Nick, and
Yeah.
none of us had anything.
My hot take's going to be everyone uses the word elite way
Oh,
too often.
yeah.
I don't consider myself elite.
Yeah,
I think elite's like the best of the best, like,
yeah.
period. And it's like some people, shout out to Dean, I doubt he listens to this, but he said on his podcast, whenever he had me on, that he thought anyone that runs a sub 24-hour 100-miler is elite. And I don't consider that at
No.
all. I think that's an awesome achievement. And if you
Yeah.
run a 100-miler or you run a marathon, like that is amazing for you. That's an awesome achievement you should be proud of. But the word elite just gets
Yeah.
thrown around way too often.
Yeah. I like that. That's
Yeah,
a good
That's going to
take.
be my hot take.
Yeah.
Next one is from Nick Murphy, legend himself. He said, "Who's gonna win Western States?"
It's gonna be a good race, I can tell you that much.
Yeah, watch it not be. Watch it just Jim Walmsley just blows the doors off everyone, or David Roche just blows the doors off.
That would be wild.
Here's the thing: I think with the competition, a lot of people will blow themselves up.
Yes, that's true.
Uh huh.
I hope not, but I think that it's gonna be David and Jim. I think they're gonna be.
One, two.
In my head, I think they're gonna stay with each other for a while.
Okay.
But I don't know because David wants to break the course record.
David's gonna run his own race.
I think so too. So he might not stick with Jim. He might just do
Jim will
whatever.
probably run his own race too, though.
And I'll be curious to see if they line up at all. You know?
That'd be cool. I'm gonna say Jim.
Okay.
He knows the course better than everyone, and he has the
true.
record. So it's like Tom Brady. Like I'm not gonna bet against Tom Brady.
That's fair.
But yeah, it's gonna be an absolutely
It's
fun
gonna
race
be-
to watch.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Definitely need to make sure I'm off that day.
The trail running Super Bowl, basically.
When is it?
End of June?
End of June. Okay,
Yeah, I
good,
think
good.
that's when it usually is.
Cool. And on that note, Carlo asked, "Do you think any big race course records will go down this year? Western States, open eyes emoji."
I think Western States is definitely going to get broken by one of them.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of course records will continue to go down.
Oh, for
Trail
sure,
running
yeah.
is becoming more popular. Ultras are becoming more popular. And innovation, people figuring things out, I think are happening a lot
Yeah.
more. And I think they will continue to happen. I'm going to say the course record goes down for the men's and women's at Western States.
I think so, yeah. I would assume, depending on who's running Hard Rock, that I feel like that one could get broken again. We'll see. I know that there's at least one person that's shooting for the Appalachian Trail FKT this year. So I'll be curious to see about that too. I guess it's not a course record, but it kind of is, so
Yeah.
another thing to watch. Slowly watch, you know?
Yeah, and that was one of the questions we asked the other week
Yeah.
was, what do you think was the most impressive female, like, ultra running feat
Yeah.
or running feat last year? It was the FKT on the Appalachian Trail.
Jasmine Paris at Barkley.
Yes, and then
I still don't know her name. So sorry.
Hassan, I think's how you say it. I could be wrong, but running 3 events at the Olympics
Yeah.
and winning the marathon and placing in the other 2. So Seth said he thought it was Jasmine at Barclays because there's been a lot of people who ran it and not many men even complete that.
Yeah.
And I think I agree. I think that's the one I would go with.
Okay.
I think the FKT on the Appalachian Trail is insane. Like, that's so impressive and stuff. but there just isn't a big number of people that do it.
I think there's just not a big number of people that can do it, you know?
That's a good point as well. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I feel like a lot of ultra runners aren't even going to try to, like, attempt it because they don't think they can
Absolutely. It's
and
a lot of
stuff.
commitment too. You can't have a real job.
Exactly, yeah. So, yeah, I would personally go with Tara. But I think I'm a little biased to the Appalachian Trail.
You're very biased to that
But
Appalachian
also,
Trail.
like,
That trail's disgusting.
yeah.
Never run on it. Like you're just literally like, no, run in a park more better. It's gonna be way better. You're not gonna twist your ankle 15 times or see a bunch of snakes, or you'll just have a more enjoyable time.
That's fair. Yeah, we did get another question from TikTok. Well, you don't run through the night, so I don't know how much this goes to you, but
I've probably ran 15 hours in the night.
During a race of your own?
Total. From all the races I've done, probably. Maybe.
We had a question from Marcella. How do you get through the night during an ultra? And, like, how do you prepare for that to, like, mentally do that?
Yeah.
Have you done that, Heath?
Not through the night. I've paced you through the night.
You have paced
me
through
So here's
the
the
night.
thing. Here's my thoughts, since mine's going to be a lot less in depth.
Fair.
It's the same way you eat elephant. One bite at a time. Just one step at a time. You don't think through the whole thing. You just think about, hey, how am I going to get to this next aid station?
Did you say eating an elephant?
It's a saying.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's like
No one
an older
for me.
saying, yeah. How do you eat an
Okay.
elephant? One bite at a time. Like, you can't just think about, like, just eating the whole thing. You
Yeah.
just got to go, hey, one step at a time,
That's
one
fair.
aid station at a time, 1 mile at a time.
Nice. However slow or fast those miles are, you know?
Absolutely. So how do you get through the night?
Coffee. I feel like usually for my other hundreds, I like sat down at an aid station for like 5 to 10 minutes and like closed my eyes. I think it was really helpful for me to do the 100K before I did a 100 miler, just because the 100K I did took me like 19 hours. It was like 2 a.m. So like dealing with the tiredness of that and like how I respond to that was I think really helpful, and I know that gave me confidence going into Cloud Splitter. I was like, oh, okay, well, if 2 a.m. is only like 4 hours away from 6 a.m., and like the sun should be up around then, so like that's only 4 hours of undiscovered nighttime bliss that I can suffer through. So I think it was like, if you want to lay down and sleep some, Olivia, do that, because there's just been some races that I'm like, my eyes are shutting and this is no longer safe. But my issue with all of the hundreds I've done is it's been rainy or like below freezing during the night, and I'm like, Olivia, you gotta get to the next aid station. You can't lay down in the rain. You don't have any option other than to keep moving.
Yeah.
So that's been helpful too, because like it rained during Rapid Raccoon in the middle of the night, and then it rained all at Cloud Splitter during the night, and it was windy and cold, and I was like, well, okay, one foot in front of the other, get to the next aid station, because if you lay down, you're gonna die.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing too, is if you have options, you might take one of those options. Like you said, you don't have a choice to lay down in the middle, like you said, with that, and it's one of the reasons, like, I run every day on my lunch. People are like, why are you running? It's raining outside.
Yeah.
I'm like, because I don't give myself an option. I wouldn't run half the time if I gave myself an option
Exactly,
to run or not. And we do have one more question. This is going to be the Chat GPT question of the day.
We have more questions.
You have, okay, we'll do the Chat GPT one first.
Oh, how did you get a chat?
I just said, what is some questions to answer for an ultra running podcast? And the one I like the most is, how do you deal with a DNF and bounce back? So we both DNF'd before.
Yeah.
You recently for the first time, and you bounced back and had the best race of your career, probably.
Literally. I think I accepted that it was like out of my control. Like in that scenario, I was like, whatever's going on with my stomach has literally never happened before. In that race, I was just really proud of myself for not dropping at mile 27.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't believe that I suffered until mile 70, and it was literally so painful with every step. And I was like, I don't know how I pushed through for another. I can't even do the math on how many miles that is. But also, like, as I was thinking about DNFing, I was like, I'm gonna do another 100 this year. I was like, I want to do that really badly. I want to see what happens and go from there. So for me, it was setting my sights on something new and trying again. I think the further you put off trying it again, like the more scary it seems. Because I think that's a reason why I didn't like share a ton that I was doing Devil Dog, because I was like, you never know what can happen.
Hmm.
You can train as hard as you want, but like you never know what that day will bring you. And that's like half of the fun with ultras. Like you never know the weather, you never know what's gonna work and not work. So I was like, the sooner that I ripped off the band-aid after the DNF seemed better and made everything less scary. Because I was already like, it had only been 6 weeks, and I was like, I don't know, like, hopefully I get through the first lap and, like, don't throw up. Like, that would be really bad. So, jumping in, I think, as soon as possible was really important for me there.
Yeah, I like that because if you don't jump in, then fear can grow and
Exactly,
you
yeah.
question it, and then you never sign up for another race.
Yeah.
Mine would be, which most of my DNFs were things that were in my control or somewhat in my
Yeah.
control. It wasn't like I couldn't go forward. Uh, but I would say just thinking about all the things that you have done in the past
Yeah.
that were hard and all the good races that you have had and not focus on that one bad
Yeah.
one that you had
Exactly.
and learn from any mistakes that you had
Yeah.
along the way.
Yep.
Like today I didn't DNF, but like, hey, I didn't win.
Yeah.
And um, that's different, a
Yeah.
bit different. And I'm like, okay, well, I didn't train hard enough. I didn't train hills, and this was
Yeah.
a hilly course, so I need to train hills more. That's what I need to do to not have that happening. And if I run the race next year, like, I need to put in
Exactly.
the work, or this are the things I need to work on. So,
Yeah. I like that too.
yeah. So, what other questions do we get?
Um, Go-to meal before an ultra from Olivia. Not me.
Uh,
Definitely not me, but from Olivia from the internet.
Internet? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Olivia from the internet, for the question. Me, something with rice, some meat
Yeah.
in rice. Big rice fan. Before races, big rice fan. Period.
Yeah.
Get yourself a rice cooker; it will change your life. But yeah, last night before the race, I had some. We had hamburgers. So I had some
Mhm.
hamburger meat and some rice and some
Yeah.
barbecue sauce with that. How
Yeah.
about you? Pizza.
I've done pizza quite a few nights before a race.
Hmm.
And that's been like fine. I did Chick-fil-A before quite a few ultras this summer.
She had Chick-fil-A today, so shout
Yeah.
out Chick-fil-A.
I had that before like all three of the races I did this summer.
Nice.
Um oh, and before Devil Dog. I had Chick-fil-A too. I
Okay.
said, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So
Yeah, Chipotle is my other one if I'm like
yeah,
out
true.
somewhere and can't have my chicken and rice. So
True. So you can still get chicken and rice.
Chipotle is like my life.
Yeah, good job. Um, Question from John Doe. Do you follow a training plan?
No,
No. Have you ever?
not specifically. The closest thing I ever followed to a training plan was when I was training for Chicago in 2019, and I ran with Taylor Sowers, uh, and we do one workout a week. I just follow his workout he was doing.
Nice.
He'd do like two a week, but my schedule only worked that I could run with him 3 days a week, so I'd run the
Gotcha.
one with him.
Yeah.
How about you?
I've not. I don't plan to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I plan to be more structured at some point, but I've also been saying that for like the last like 7 years, so
This is the year.
this is year of the structure. No,
Yeah.
after Rabbit Raccoon, I'm gonna set up something for Burning River.
Oh, yeah. I think that's a
I
good
feel
one.
that's a good idea, yeah.
Uh, Question from Jane Doe. Probably not related. Probably not the same person either. Biggest tip you could give someone for their first ultra? I've got mine if you want to think about it.
Yeah, go for it.
Don't wear anything new. Don't
Yeah.
test all your gear.
Hmm.
Make sure nothing rubs you weird. Don't wear new socks. Don't wear. I'm okay with new shoes if you've worn that same exact type of shoe before.
Yeah.
Like, I've worn brand new Brooks Cascadias on a race, but it's the same pair that I have.
Mm.
So I think that makes it a lot easier, but like,
Yeah.
I never wear anything new. I am sadly not the marathoner that goes and gets a new outfit for her marathon, because I'm like, but what if that rubs me weird? What if that chafes me? What if I actually start wearing that pack and then it starts rubbing me weird here? So always try whatever you're gonna wear.
I like that. I kind of got two. So,
Okay.
try to work on nutrition before the race.
Yes.
Figure something out with that. And my other one is going to be have a realistic time goal.
Okay, I like it.
Like base your time goal
Yeah.
off something that you've done.
Yes.
Don't just pull a number out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, because if you start out too fast and completely blow yourself up the first 13 miles of a 50K, that's going to
Yeah.
be a long day.
Yeah. No, that's correct. How do you mentally prep for longer races? Do you?
No, I don't think realistically. I just kind of think back on what the things I've already done.
That's fair.
Like, yeah, okay, I've been here, done that before, kind of in some way, or I can play mental gymnastics. Like, maybe I haven't specifically done that thing, but like, I can relate something to relate to something to relate to something to get me there.
I like it.
Yeah.
Like, are you ever like daunted by like, oh, I have X amount of miles left, or is it
I don't
like,
think about it. I just think
okay,
how far away I am to 50. I'm counting up to 50 for
okay,
a 100 miler, and then once I get there, I'm like, I'm halfway done and I'm counting down the miles.
okay,
That helps me.
that's
Or
good.
counting down the loops, or during Rabbit Raccoon last year, 8 loops, 12.5 miles. I was like, okay, like, by the time I was 25 miles in, which I was half asleep until then, I'm like, okay, like, I just need to run a good lap here,
Yeah,
and then as soon as I run a good lap there, I'm like, okay, I just need to run one more good lap, and then I'm like, okay, I just got to run one more good lap, and then I
yeah,
get my pacers. So
amazing.
just keep gaslighting myself.
Yeah. Um, I feel like respecting the distance that you're gonna run. Like after I did my first 100, I don't know why, but I felt that my second 100 would be so much easier and so much
Mm.
shorter. And like I didn't like mentally prep, and I'm like, Olivia, regardless of how many times you've done it, like 100 miles is still 100 miles.
Yeah,
So like mentally prepare to like be in those dark places and those tough places and be like, this is what we're gonna think about. This is what we're gonna listen to. This is how we're gonna get through
I
this.
like that, and I feel like that's one of the things with like once you do a 100 miler, you're like, oh, any race that's shorter, you're like, oh, it's just a fifty
Ah,
k.
yeah.
It's still a 50K. And
Yeah.
like you don't remember until you actually get in there. You're like, holy
Exactly.
crap, this is still long. Like,
Yeah.
what is this? Like, I'm still out here running a long time.
Exactly. Everyone's like, "Oh, do you think a marathon's like short compared to 100?" And I'm like, "No, like you can I don't want to go run 26.2 miles right now.
Yeah.
Like I will, but you know." So, it's
I
very
could.
interesting. I guess I could if I my life depended on it, but if it doesn't, I'm probably not.
Yeah.
Um question that I just thought of.
Yeah.
So not from the internet,
Question
no.
from Olivia you.
From Olivia and me, yes,
Uh-huh.
yes, not fake Olivia. I mean, internet Olivia. What motivates you to keep running?
I don't know. Having goals is nice and
Yeah,
wanting to do those things. Um, I don't know. I enjoy the improvement.
yeah,
Uh, my streak keeps me running every single day. I
yeah.
don't want to break
That's true.
that. Uh,
Discipline.
Discipline. Yeah, I don't. I just don't know what it would be outside of running if I wasn't doing running. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know what I would do with my spare time and stuff. And I think running over the last 6 or how many years my streak has like kept me from spiraling whenever other things in my life didn't go well. Like,
yeah,
that's my one constant block that I'm gonna do every single day, no matter what. Like, might
yeah,
not sleep, might not eat that day. Like, things might be terrible, might be super sad, might be super happy, but like, I'm gonna run that day no matter what.
mm-hmm.
And rather than hey, I get super depressed, don't leave the house, don't do something, like I'm at least gonna run that day. Like
Yeah,
anytime I've had dark times over the last 6 years, and everyone's gonna have one dark times every now and again. So
mm-hmm.
having one constant in your life is cool.
Yeah. That's
How
awesome.
about you?
I think I don't know. I feel like since we run so much, people assume that we like love
Every
running,
moment.
love every second of every run, and
Hmm.
that like oh like you have to love it to run as much as you do. And like yes, to a certain extent, like I do love it, but like is it still hard for me to get out on my run every day? Yeah. Like do I
Yeah.
still have to be like, all right, you gotta go do it? Yeah. Like are some days easier than others? Yeah.
Hmm.
But like it's still like effort to be like, all right, Olivia, you're gonna go be outside. I know that it's 8 degrees, -8 degrees, whatever it is. You're gonna go be outside for over an hour, you know?
Yeah. And that's where I think we differ a bit. We kind of had this conversation a couple weeks ago. Like I could see in my life in 15 years like me not running. I could see I find a different hobby and like that's what I do and that's what I care about more at that point. I don't know what that would be. I don't hope that happens. I really enjoy running and stuff, but like you just have this idea that like running's always 100% going
Yeah.
to be in your life. And yeah. I think with a lot of things, you think like that's always how life's gonna be with rock climbing and stuff as well. You're like,
Yeah.
this is what I love now. This is what I'm always gonna love, and I think it's.
I don't know. That's what I think I could see myself not rock climbing in the future.
Mm,
But like it's a fun hobby and I like the
yeah.
workout that I get from it. But like it's interesting because like I guess I thought music was always going to be there and
Hmm.
then that has kind of not. So I feel like I don't have like a false sense of running's always going to be there, but I think I don't know what other I always want to be moving my body and I don't know another form of moving my body that I would enjoy nearly as much as running. I
No,
like
that's
can't
fair.
I have no hand-eye coordination. I don't want to play a sports game. I'm like I think I could get into like cross-country skiing.
Hmm.
That's like the only other thing that I'm like, that could be interesting. So,
No, no. But yeah, I guess like when I was young, I was very into video game stuff, and I
yeah,
think at that point I'm like, oh, I'm always gonna play video games. Now I don't really at all anymore. And then like I've been into lifting like pretty hardcore on and off. So I think that's where I'm like, I've seen things not stick around that I
yeah,
thought were gonna stick around. Kind of like you with music, but
yeah. And that's what I think like does scare me since I was like so all in for music. I have a degree just for like reference and like music was my life from like high school through college, post college.
mm,
So I had like a solid like 10 years of my life was just devoted to like playing the flute and like prepping performances and teaching children music. And so it's weird to I'm scared that that burnout will reach me with running. So I
mm,
think I'm trying to run this high for as long as possible and keep it as sustainable as possible.
yeah,
I think I've seen what burnout has done before and I'm like trying to avoid that, but I'm also like, but I like running at
yeah.
least 8 miles a day. So I think it's like this fine line that I'm trying to like constantly figure out.
No, that's
So
fine. I completely understand that.
yeah,
And like I feel like I get burnout with running every single year. Like after
fair.
the summer, after my big race, I'm like, I don't really like running that
Yeah,
much. I'm gonna continue to run, keep a base, like do something with running because I know that fire is gonna come back.
yeah,
Um, but like I don't think you have to love something every moment to
yeah.
love it overall.
That's fair. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
That's very
Just
nice.
like in relationships, it's like you're gonna get mad at that other person. It's like maybe you don't love them in the moment, but you love that person still.
Yeah,
Or your dog, he like tears something up. It's like you're mad at him, mad as heck. Like you still love your dog.
it's a good analogy. So yeah, we'll see. For now, I would like to keep running around because I just like to exercise, but like, man, going to the gym just doesn't do it for me. I'm trying to do strength training.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind going for like a half hour, but like, I always think like if this was the only like active thing I did, like my lifestyle wouldn't be sustainable. Like the way that I eat wouldn't be sustainable. And not saying that you have to eat, run to eat, or vice versa, or whatever. But I'm just like, I actually have an appetite when I run. Like
Yeah.
I can actually like eat a decent amount of food. You know.
That's fair too. And I feel another hot take. I feel like you don't need to go to the gym for 2 hours to get a good lift in. Like
That's fair. Yeah.
you can do sets or you can superset stuff and get a good lift in 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Um, but some people like spending 2 hours a day there.
Yeah.
That's awesome for
Yeah.
them.
But like I just like my heart rate just doesn't get up enough. And like same
Well, it's
thing
not
with rock.
cardio, so
Yeah.
of course not.
Same thing with like rock climbing. I'm like, if
Yeah.
this was my only like outlet of working out, it just like wouldn't work for me.
Yeah, and I don't have a end goal or end time of when I want to stop running, and I don't want to stop
Yeah.
running. That's not a thing. I'm just saying, like,
If
hey,
it
if you
happens.
told me I'm 50 and I don't run ultra marathons anymore, I'm not gonna be like, what? Really? What?
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm coaching kids and like screaming at like the refs at a sporting event. What? Like, yeah, makes sense.
You're like, finally. Perfect. Amazing.
Yeah.
I don't think I have any other questions. Do you have any other questions?
I do not think I have any other questions.
You really enunciated each word there very nicely.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I've been working on it. I was in speech therapy my whole childhood. I went to
Okay.
preschool for 2 years because my mom wanted me to start because no one could understand me except my mom and my brother. And I was put into a special education class in preschool because my teachers couldn't understand me, so they thought I
Oh,
was not very intelligent. So I was in speech therapy from that first year of preschool all the way up into fourth or fifth grade.
okay.
Shout out Mrs. Harp, who was a speech therapist for the school. And
Yeah.
I went in the summer and she worked with me.
Oh,
So,
nice.
yeah. So if I use slang or stuff too much or don't enunciate, my mom used to get mad at me because she's like, you worked so hard to be able to speak right.
Oh, that's so
So
funny.
speak right.
Yeah, I like that.
Shout out to mom.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I guess we can end it here.
Yeah. Questions in the comments on whatever platform you're watching on
Yeah.
for next week. So
Awesome.
have a great week. Actually, one more thing. We are doing a special midweek episode this week, having my mother and my brother on. So we're going to record that on Monday night. We'll probably post it sometime throughout the week. So
Awesome.
2 episode week.
Cool. All right. See everyone next week.